Hi, my name is Tiffani Robinson, and I'm a professional dancer currently dancing at Cedar Point's amusement park this summer. Thanks for watching and learning a little bit about my journey as a dancer thus far.
Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan. For today, what can I say? We have an incredible, amazing, badass, super guest on the show. Tiffani, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good, Dan. Thank you for having me. I've never been on a podcast as a guest, so I'm fangirling a tiny bit, but I'm super excited. Thank you for asking me.
Cool. Absolutely. What better way to have an incredible Monday, and also a better way to have an incredible, like the perfect start for the week, to have an incredible badass guest. That's all I can say. Now, before we start, I do want to thank those who are watching. Thank you so much. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow. Helps a lot. Now, without further more, let's jump in for the whole interview. Now, let's go back in time and tell me where the journey in dance began.
Where did the journey begin? Okay, so it's really funny because I'm actually an academic girly at heart. So I was really into forensic psychology. We had a criminal law class in high school, and I loved NCIS, Law and Order, all those things. So I really wanted to go into the psychiatric psychology part of it. And it's like a little bit of a family joke because my mom would pray for me that I'm going into a population that is drastically different. And she wanted to make sure, my brain, my mind, and my heart, didn't deter from who I am as a person. She just wanted to make sure I would, be okay. And so it's this family joke that, she had this prayer, and then all of a sudden I was like, you know what, I actually want to be a dancer. So it was kind of a drastic change from what I was into to what I'm doing now. But I did grow up doing musical theater. I was always just like an ensemble girly. And I loved the dance portion of the musical theater the best. And I had this advisor, choreographer, who was like, oh, are you in dance class? And I was like, no, not really. And she was like, why? And I was like, I don't know, actually. So I started taking classes when I was in high school. So it started in about 9th, 10th grade. I was taking some recreational courses. It was great, but I realized that I wanted to do a little bit more. So I started training a little bit more intentionally. I would say like 11th, 12th grade was when I was like, I want to get into this a little bit more. I was taking African jazz, hip hop, like a modern, and maybe like a jazz solo. And I started taking a little bit of ballet also. So that was where I really started. I didn't have the traditional, you start when you're 2 and you do competition dance and convention. So it was a little bit different journey for me. I started what's deemed as, late. But yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
That's incredible. And I think that is also kind of the best way to start, because you try to yeah, I do think that is also a great way to start, because like sometimes with the whole competitions and everything, especially when you're like starting out, it can get into a moment in which you start to feel burned out, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
since you're young, you just want to have fun, have a good one. So I do think that is also kind of a good start to be like out of those stuff yet, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. For a really long time, I didn't see it that way. I always just felt like I was behind. But it definitely, I know a lot of people who did competition dance, and then once they got to college or after their competition, they were like, I don't ever want to dance again. So that is a really good perspective that it took me a while to kind
yeah.
of embrace.
Yeah, absolutely. But tell me, like, what are some of the inspirations that you have in order for you to become a dancer?
Ooh, that is a good one. I think I just, it was less of like drawing from external and knowing that internally I felt my best when I was performing, and I felt the most me, and I liked making that connection with the audience and seeing people laugh and smile and like, enjoy the spectacle of the performance. Yeah. So I didn't naturally gravitate towards dance. It was really that one advisor that was like, you know what, you should check this out. And I guess she was my inspiration, really, which is kind of neat because I just messaged her a few weeks ago and just kind of reflected back on like where I started and where I am now. And I was like, you kind of started this all. So
Yeah, okay. And can you share like a memorable moment or experience that you had back when you were, recently making your first steps in your dancing career?
Yeah, so in high school, I was Victoria the White Cat in Cats the Musical. And it was a featured role and it was, pretty iconic. And my family had come to the show. And when I came off stage, they were all wearing these white t-shirts that said, "We love the White Cat." And my mom had made like a little cute, picture or painting on the photos with these like pipe cleaner whiskers. And it was the cutest thing. And it was a really incredible moment to know that I had my community and that I was supported, because I know that it's not always the case. So the shirts were fun and they still wear them now, like every now and again around the house. So that was definitely a really special moment.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, let's focusing a little bit on the present, let's say, right? And tell me how
Yeah.
you prepare for a performance. I mean, do you have a, I don't know, like a ritual, or like something to kind of set your mind before, going on stage?
Yeah, if you've ever taken or anybody's ever taken class or rehearsals or anything like that, like I love a good shoulder roll warm up. So that is pretty iconic for me getting into a performance. So I would definitely say my warm up is really important. I don't think I have like a specific ritual, but I would say that my warm up is pretty consistent in terms of getting ready for a show, because yes, you have to get your physical body ready, but the warm up for me is a mental game, and a mental practice and reset that I really make sure that I'm intentional. So sometimes I have, like my calming music to do a nice stretch, and then I'll turn on my bad B playlist, something like really hyped to get me into the mood and ready for the day. And yeah, I think that is probably something that's always consistent, that I make sure that is feels good for me and my body.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get it. And also it shows that there is no like a specific manual on how to
Yeah,
prepare, I think that is like the cool thing that everyone has to um yeah, that everyone has to create their own kind of process in order for them to get ready and not to and that there's no book on how to prepare or things like that. I think that makes things more easy and more kind of creative, and more personal for everyone. So
for sure. And it's not always consistent from day to day. So if I need something extra for my back, or it,
yeah,
it changes.
totally.
So that's important for sure.
Totally. And tell me, what has been the most challenging aspect of your dance career?
Ooh, I would definitely say imposter syndrome. Because I started dance late, I never really feel like I'm a dancer. So I started maybe when I was about 15 or 16 years old. I'm 23 right now. And I think I've just started to claim that title, that identity of a dancer, like about 4 to 6 months ago. So for me, that is a really hard thing, because I never really feel like I'm good enough to be in the room, or that I'm really like a real dancer. So
Yeah.
getting over that mental block of like, I'm here, I belong, like I'm working hard, it's translating to the audience has been the most difficult part for me, for sure.
Yeah, 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 I get it. I can understand that. And that being said, what has been the most challenging aspect of your career?
Um, hmm. I had knee surgery in 2018,
Okay.
and this was my senior year in high school. So this was right around the time that I just started to be like, I want to get serious about dance. I started taking ballet. I think I was like 6 months into ballet. I set up for a turn that I did not go well, clearly. I went one way, my knee went the other, and I ended up tearing my meniscus, and there was a lot of dislocation in my knee. Like that got pretty bad to the point where like I couldn't go the whole night without dislocating my knee, because I'm tossing and turning in the middle of the night, it would pop out. So that was really difficult, because I just started, I think I was like 6 months or so into taking ballet, and then I had to start all over again with recovery and then learning how to walk. So that was a difficult part. During that time, the recovery time, there was a lot of depression. It was my senior year. I missed out on a lot of events. Um, I also gained a lot of weight. My friends would just come over and bring me treats, and then I was just sitting like on the couch for
Yeah.
like an extended period of time. So that was definitely a moment in my career where it was just like the fuel was kicking in, and then I had this really big setback learning how to walk all over again. So
Mm.
I definitely feel like it pushed me a little bit more once I, got out of that little funk, that weird little recovery period. But that was difficult because it was definitely a setback in terms
Mm.
of like, you know,
Yeah, like getting back into
motivation.
shape and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like years ago, too many years ago now, I broke my foot and I was in the basketball team. And due to that, I was like 4 months out because of the whole rehab stuff in order to, rehabilitation to get your physiotherapy and things like that. And during that time, I got weight. And when I got back, also, it was not the same, and it took me a while to kind of like recoup and yeah, like recoup those months in which I basically was staying in bed and things like that. So yeah, it's crazy when you try to get back and you're like, I used to do this thing super easy and now it's taking me a lot of time. What the hell, So
Exactly, yeah. And I'm the type of person that likes to just pick up where I left off. So
yeah.
that was definitely difficult because I obviously could not do that.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. Because you're like, okay, I'm fine, so I can do things now the way that I used to now. But you don't, and because you're young, you don't get it that sometimes it's not like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can. And tell me, like, how you handle like the whole nerves or anxiety before performing. I mean, it happens to all of us, even though we have been doing something for years now, and we have experience. There is still some bug here and there. Some still like some little anxiety will come. So how you handle that part?
Yes. When I first started, I would get a lot of anxiety,
Mm.
mostly because I didn't have that experience of being in a class or being in a rehearsal. So it was pretty new and there's a lot of people. I'm claustrophobic, which is not great at a dance call and things like that. So
Yeah.
for me, having a foundation that when your mind is racing that I can go back to. So like having a video of the performance or of note or written notes. So like when you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot the dance, or like I don't remember what comes next, you have something that's like, okay, something to ground you. So I think that is really important. And then using for dance specifically for me, using the rhythm of the music
Mm.
to ground you also. Like you have this steady beat, how can you sit in it? How can you use all of your time and let that be something that you can work with as opposed to something that is
Yeah.
like working against you is a big thing for sure. I think now that I have a little bit more experience in classes and rehearsals and performance, I don't get as nervous. But again, there's always those times where like somebody specific is in the audience or, every now and then they just pop up. Deep breathing is great also. And then having a community, a cast that can also give you that comfort, being with people who are also going through the same thing. You kind of
Yeah.
create that strong bond as well.
Yeah, that's important. And tell me like how you handle the whole demanding nature of dance. I mean, we all know that either for dancing, acting, music, it's super demanding, right? So how you handle that yeah, that side, let's say.
Yeah, so I'm definitely struggling with that right now.
Yeah.
Mentally, I would say it's important to have a circle, a community, both within the dance that in the dance industry and community that understands what you're going through,
Mm-hmm.
but then also a community outside of dance. I think it's important to have that identity and those hobbies outside of something that you commit to all the time. Just it's refreshing. Sometimes you just need, you know, the mom or the ice cream or the friend that doesn't care
Yeah.
about auditions and might just want to like go to the park. So I think that is also important. Physically, recovery, rest, so vital to the body. I've had a few injuries within the last few months. I think part of it is a mental block that I'm going through that's translating to my body physically. So you really can't look at them separately. You have to make sure that everything is in sync or you're gonna be injured. Icing, inversions. Um, my mentor from a few months ago told me not to just let the ice sit there. You really have to like kind of massage it in. So that was something new that, whereas in the first way, I might put my body into shock just from having
Mm.
the ice. Now I'm like, working the muscle and really getting to all of the intrinsic things that are inside. So just knowing how to take care of your body is great. I also was in this workshop a few weeks, or not a few weeks, maybe a few days ago, where the instructor told me that being an autopilot is a really big hindrance to injuries mentally
Yeah.
and physically. And I think that I've definitely been an autopilot. You're just not as present, you're not as intentional. So making sure that you are being direct about what you're consuming, that's in terms of food, in terms of the company around you, in terms of the images, water, and things like that, is also really important to make sure that you are maintaining physical and mental health for sure.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, sometimes it's like those little details, right? Don't that we sometimes don't think, like getting the proper sleep or uh eat properly, things like that. We don't see them as something really important, but then once you start to realize, it actually do affects your perform, like how you perform later on. So
Yes, for sure.
yeah, and how you continue, to learn and grow as a dancer.
Yes, I think staying on top of the trends is really important.
Mm.
I had an audition maybe about a year ago, and the casting director, I made it to in-person callbacks and then got cut at the end. And the casting director came over to me and she was like, "No, I love you. Like, I love watching you. Your performance is great, but you just don't have enough partnering work for this particular job. So,
Yeah.
keep your information and we'll reach out when it comes to the other jobs." And I had, prior to that audition, I had seen Wicked, the musical, when I was about in eighth grade. And so after that audition, a few months ago, I had seen it again, and it was drastically different from what I remember a few years ago. The whole show essentially was all partnering, and I was like, you know what? You have a point there. So like
Yeah.
everything is changing, and you really have to make sure that yes, you're staying true to who you are as an artist, but you're also, if you want to book jobs, if you
Hmm.
want to be in the industry and continue to make work, you really have to stay on top of what the industry is asking for you at this point in time. So there are a few industry professionals that will post things on Instagram about, oh, this is what's happening. Intenses are really important with people who are working in the industry as well as teaching, because they can tell you, this is what I had to do on stage and on tour, and then they can also translate that information down. So just being mindful about who you're training with, what your goals are, to make sure
Hmm.
that you are doing that are going to help you get there, is also super important. In the same
Yeah.
way as like if you're going into commercial dance, and what's really popular right now is the bathing suit top and the cargo pants, and yes, it's really cute, but is everybody going to be wearing that? So just
Mm.
kind of staying really immersed with the culture of dance, I think is really important to make sure you're learning what is gonna keep you booked, and you're growing also as an artist by working with the people who are doing it.
Okay. Okay. Now tell me how you manage to balance, right, between technical proficiency and emotional expression in your
Yeah.
performances.
Um, your technique is the foundation,
Mm.
regardless of what performance that you're doing. And I do think that the emotional aspect of it helps you connect with the audience, and it kind of helps you. It individualizes your performance. So for me, when I'm in my current performance right now is kind of jazz funk, and then there's parts where we will have a triple turn or a chaîné turn. And so I
Yeah.
think making sure that you're staying engaged and you're using all of your muscles, and you know when to be grounded and when to have a moment of texture, and then knowing when to bring it back in and make sure that everything is tight and together and the lines are where they're supposed to be. To do that, I would say you just always kind of have to be thinking ahead,
Mm-hmm.
um, and know when to kind of like switch it on and off. Is
Okay.
the way I could kind of put that.
I mean, it's a whole other process that for some people might think that is just learning a choreograph, which let me tell you that I did try that once years ago, and it took like weeks for like to get it, like to getting it,
Yeah.
like to getting it good, I mean, at first it looks easy, and you're like, "Psh, I got this," but then later on with the people that I tried that, none of us were dancers, and yeah, it took us weeks to finally start to getting it, and the day we were about to perform, it rained. So yeah, it was raining too much that they canceled everything. And then I was with my friends, and I was like, well, I guess we do now learn how to. Well, I mean, we now have a cool dance choreograph, which we will
There
never
you
do it,
go.
you know. So yeah, so
That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah. Now tell me, what does a typical day in your life look like when you're preparing for a performance?
Yeah, so I don't like to do too much on performance days, at least like when it's opening or close to opening. I try to make sure that the first half of my day or whatever part of the day is not,
Yeah.
performing is pretty low key and relaxed. Just because I don't like to be out rushing and then now I have all of this like rushed energy and I don't like to take that into my performance. So breakfast, of course, definitely early in the morning because I feel like as the nerves may start to kick in, you might not get hungry, but you do need that fuel. So
Totally.
breakfast in the morning, a good, warm up, maybe a soak, really just kind of preparing my body for what it has to do.
Mm.
Um, yeah, we have hair and makeup, all the good things. I typically try to do like a warm up and stretch before I head to the rehearsal space. And then when I get there, it's usually just um, directed towards what I might be doing in the show. So if I'm doing a
Hmm.
Batma, I'll do a Batma. Or if I need turns, I'll do more abs and things like that. So I
Okay.
really honestly don't try to do too much before performance days, really just kind of hone in and recenter.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, what are you, yeah, like, can you share your thoughts, right, on the importance of dance in our society?
Yeah. Dance is universal. And I think I also have a psych degree. So I was doing a little bit of research about like um, trauma in the body and how we can work through that through movement. And something
Hmm.
that I researched was like individuals that have depression, like vertical movement is really good for things like that. So I think regardless of the population, it's something that can connect us all um, and show that community, which is super important. Like
Mm.
I can connect with someone that might be dancing in India, or I can watch the world of dance and see lots of different styles and lots of different people and connect with a different culture and a different style and connect. I think that the connection of movement, that movement is just movement and it's not so far away from, a dancer versus someone who might not dance. It's
Yeah.
something that we can all do, I think is really important and special.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a form of expression, right? And
Right.
it's important for us to have like ways to express us. I mean, and let's face it, everybody dances either with themselves in front of the mirror or in the
Right.
shower, or everybody does that. So it's necessary in our life for sure. So
Absolutely.
now let's say, one day I call you and I tell you that I want to become a dancer. Now here's the thing. I mean, I have zero experience. All right. So based on what you know, what do you think it would be important for me to know, or like, what do you think it would be a good place for me to start?
A good place to start. Um, I would say that is a good place to start. Just start. I know a lot of people who wouldn't engage or do an intensive because they didn't want to go by themselves or go to class because of X, Y, and Z or this, that, and the third. And I think just starting and making that connection, go take that dance class. Go do a follow along on YouTube or something like that. There are a lot of times. Well, I would say a motto that I use in my life is feel the fear and do it anyways. So there were times where I would be nervous or I didn't have anybody to do something with, or I didn't know how to try this move. Like committing to it and giving your all and having fun is the start of it, really.
Okay, okay. Now, how do you feel dance has evolved over the years, and especially with the influence of social media and technology as well?
Yeah, so as we've seen with TikTok kind of changed
Oh yeah,
all that we really know
oh
about
yeah.
dance.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you have across different styles and cultures and areas of the world. And I think that, again, going back to my original or my former comment, it's just like it really connects everybody.
Totally.
And I think that it makes it more universal, knowing that everybody can do it. You have moms and dads and aunts and uncles, grandparents, dogs, everybody participating in it. It's really a social dance, social
Mm-hmm.
culture that everybody can be a part of. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's amazing, right? That you can see now people from all over the world, for like from all over the world, if they have a cell phone with Wi-Fi, they can record a dancing video, and boom, it's on the world, let's say. So yeah, I do find that really really cool. As back then, it was like a little bit hard, for you to find, like either dancers or yeah, or like stuff like that. But now, I mean, you just open TikTok or even like Instagram or YouTube sometimes
Or
as well,
YouTube, yeah.
and you have all type of, and even like with music that maybe at some point you were like, there's no way someone can actually dance with that. Boom, there's like that. So I
Somebody
find
can
that,
do
yeah. And also, and then one day it becomes viral and you're like, what? So I find that
it.
pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. Now my last question would be two questions. The first
Okay.
one is like, what motivates you? We all have those days that basically we just want to quit. It's inevitable, happens to all of us, regardless in what we're doing. So how you manage to stay positive, to stay on the go, to be like, what, I'm just gonna keep moving.
Yes, my mentor just posted and tagged me in a video a few weeks ago, and it said, "Remember your why."
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, I needed that today."
Yeah.
Remember why you started. Remember, yes, my body's tired, it's hot, my knees hurt, my body's aching. And remember, like, that little girl that was dancing in the backyard, or, working at a senior living center, $9 an hour, probably
Hmm.
like maybe 6 to 8 hours a week to pay for one ballet class. Remember, like, that drive and that motivation of like really wanting the thing that you're doing now, and knowing that I'm in the blessings and the opportunities that I really wanted years ago. So remember that passion of being on stage, and that spark. So I think that is really important. And there's someone that would love to be in my position,
Yeah.
and I have the opportunity to do it. So embrace it and love it. Yes, I love my job. It's hard, but there's nothing else that I want to be doing. And so just remembering, holding on to that little seed that sprouted this journey, that why I'm here on this podcast right now,
Totally.
it's
Totally.
important.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I do think that sometimes we take things for granted, right? And we don't forget the things we have done to achieve. Yeah, like the things we have achieved to be where we are right now. That, yeah, perhaps is not the position you wanted, but hey, I do think that everything, it's a process. That it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and during that journey, you have to, enjoy your victories. I do think that sometimes that is a like a problem, that your small victories sometimes you don't even enjoy them. You're like, okay, good, but I want to, be in this position one day. And I do think like the healthiest way of see things is like, yeah, I'm gonna be there one day, but now I'm just enjoying in this process, learning my lessons, things like that. Because
Mhm.
yeah, it's crazy. And like, I do think that is also the fault of the whole um internet stuff, that right now we are used to get everything like this. You get to, basically, you can get everything like this, even like buying online and things like that. And due to that, we forget that things take time, So yeah, I love it. I love that. Now, my final question here is, what do you think it would be a a great title for this video?
Well, with your last statement, I would say it's the journey.
There you go.
It's the journey.
It's a journey. Okay, because that's gonna be the title for this video. So
Yeah, it's the journey becoming, or
okay.
something like that. Like, it, you have to embrace and love all the small little things
Yeah.
on the way
Yeah.
to the goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, at the end, what can I say, Tiffany? It's incredible what you do, and the fact that you are pursuing it. I can understand how difficult and annoying sometimes might be, but hey, as we were saying, it's part of the whole experience, and you're doing it and you're achieving it, which I do think that is like that is the proof to everyone who wants to either starting out dancing or acting, singing, whatever, that everything is possible. But of course, you need to work on it, because having on your mind and be like, I want to do that, that's perfect. I do think that would be like the first step, but now
Mhm.
comes the toughest one, which is work on it, So and you're doing it, so that's pretty cool.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah,
Thank you for having
absolutely. I mean, I do want to thank also those who stayed here in this episode. Thank you so much. As I said in the beginning, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow, it helps a lot. But also, since this episode is about to be over, on the description below, you're gonna find all of Tiffany social media. Let's make her viral. Hashtag Team Tiffany. She's incredible. And again, Tiffany, thank you so much for making this happen. Keep killing it and have an incredible start of the week. Keeping amazing, and we'll be seeing you in the next one.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. Bye.
All right.